Hi, and welcome back to Grief Inspired. My name is Catherine McNulty, and I have a fantastic guest with us tonight. Mike Shipley has joined us and has offered graciously to share about his story, his journey through grief. And I think what you're going to find is that his story is one of discovery that is interesting and inspirational. So, Mike, hi, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you.
But I wanted to start by asking you, looking back on these 9 months, you've been through an awful lot, and we're going to get to all of that. But what do you think? What's the most important thing that you've learned through all of this to get you to where you are now, being willing to come and share your story?
Probably the thing I'd say would be God is good.
Mm.
He has seen me through a lot and changed my thoughts and my life quite a bit. So I'd say that's simple. That's it.
Let's talk a little bit about Christina and how you guys met. I love that story, and I want you to share that with everyone.
Okay. Well, we met about 20 years ago at work, uh, an engineering firm I was working for, and she'd come and we were, we talked and stuff, but I never really knew any of her personal life. And then I got a divorce, and she came to my office one day and she was talking about, I go home and I don't know what I used to do because there's just nothing to do and all that. And I said, yeah, I understand. And I didn't really know what was going on. And then she told me that her husband had just passed.
Mm.
They got married 3 or 4 years before. He got cancer, so they went ahead and got married, and she took care of him and got him off safely to his transition. And so we were talking, and I just asked her if she needed anything. I said, I'm sure you need something. And she said, well, the yard's a mess. So I offered to bring my lawnmower over and mow it for her. It needed done. So I did that. I didn't realize it was 3 acres on a small riding mower, and it took a while, but got it done. So we became telephone friends after that. And I was working out in West Texas at that point. And so we were talking on the phone every night, probably 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I never talked that long on the phone. So anyway, she one night she was telling me, said, I need to get up, my back hurts. So why is that? I said, well, I'm sitting on the floor. Why are you sitting on the floor? He said, well, my phone's dead and I've only got a little bitty short cord, so I got to sit by the outlet. I'm going, okay, I'll fix that. So I got her a longer cord. So and then it wasn't too long after that we ended up getting married. Whenever we had Christina and I had met, or whenever we started become telephone friends and stuff, and we were dating, and we were talking one night, kind of talking about each other's life stories and all that. And then she talked about, she used to work at the Exxon refinery in Baytown, Texas, and she's the only woman out there. And then I remembered in, I think 1982 or 1983, a place I used to work at. I think a guy's name was Jerry McKelfer. She brought in a picture of a gal wearing a hard hat in the Exxon refinery in Baytown. I saw the picture and thought, I need to meet that gal. And
Because there weren't a lot of women that worked there.
there was none. She was the only one. And because she did kind of the same stuff I was doing, instrumentation and stuff. She knew about that. That's what her dad did. And so time goes on, I kind of forgot about it. Anyway, we were talking, and then I said, she talked about that, and I go, wait a minute. Somebody brought a picture in, and I told her about the story, and she said, yeah, that was me. So 40 years before we'd kind of met, And I knew there was something special. I didn't know, I didn't know what, but I kind of had just that special feeling.
Mhm.
And so we ended up getting together and all that. So I got a picture of us on our first date. And so then she ended up getting, about 2 years after, she ended up getting sick. She caught COVID before it was here. We at a wedding. Somebody came from Singapore and they brought it with them. So she had COVID in October 2019.
Wow. So that's early. That's
Yeah.
before most people even knew COVID existed.
Yeah, that was 5 months before it was officially here. And the hospital
Mm.
was full of people like that. So they didn't know what it was. So she ended up being on life support for 72 days. And that took a toll on her. So first year she got out, she did okay. And then she kind of started going downhill from that. She was in and out of the hospital several times during that time. And then December of 2023, I took her back to the hospital. I knew she was getting worse, and she'd fell and banged her head, and she's on blood thinners. So I said, well, got to take you in.
Mhm.
So took her in, and I said, need to check her for pneumonia too. I'm pretty sure she got pneumonia again. And she did. So they tried the high flow oxygen for a little while, or actually they tried a mask for a little
Mm.
while and it didn't work. So I ended up put her on they're on a ventilator. So she was on that for 3 weeks again or something. Then she was doing pretty good. She's trying to speak and they put a speaking valve in and it just never worked well.
Mm.
Uh, and I mean, she had a really good day. I had a picture of that. And then just had a really good day. And then a day or two later, she had something happen. Not sure what happened, but she went downhill and they had to fight to keep her alive for the night.
Mm.
So she made it another, I don't know, 3 or 4 days after that when life support was taken off. So that's when she transitioned and I came home and I was sitting on the edge of the bed thinking, what do I do now?
Mm.
And I wrote a poem that night. When all the tears have been cried, when the hole in your heart has been filled with good memories, then comes more tears to wash out the good memories. Eventually, I hope to cement in the best memories that will withstand more tears yet to come. Then you realize the hole is God-shaped and the cement is Christ's bloods. This is the cement holding your memories in place. You will be greatly missed, my soulmate. Rest in peace, my love, Christina.
Mm.
And I was just sitting there and it just kind of popped in my head and thought, I need to write this down.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And you did that the night she passed.
Yes. After I came home from the hospital, got everything taken care of, I just came in and we were living in the sunroom after she got out of the hospital the first time because got windows on three sides. And this is where her dad was when he passed. He wanted to be out here so he could see the world. And that's where she wanted to be. We lived out here. Hard to hard to keep cool, hard to keep warm, but that's what she wanted to do. So that's what we did.
And
And
so this was January 22nd
yes, of
of
this year.
2024.
Yes.
So what did you do? You get through the funeral, you do all the things that you have to do, but
Yeah.
then you're left with you. What do you do?
I made it probably a month, maybe. And then I started searching. There's got to be, I was fighting it hard. There got to be something I can do. So I looked around and found that a local church, there's a nationwide thing the church runs for grief. So I thought I'd try it. So I called them. They already had the session in going. So I called them about joining and they said, well, we're halfway through. I said, what can I join? He said, it would be better if you came to our next session, it's going to be in September. Well, that was forever.
Right.
That was forever. I thought, I'll never make it that far.
Hmm.
So I started looking around. I looked through several groups and I found yours, and I just read the stuff, and I just liked the way it was run, and I got the feeling that I was told that this was where I was supposed to come. This was the group I was supposed to join. So I joined it, and started doing on it. I poured my heart out many times on it.
You did.
Got some support because everybody on there has been through some kind of grief. Some of them the same thing I have or whatever. More widows than widowers,
Hmm.
but everybody still has some good advice and telling you, here's some things to do to help calm you down for a little bit. The breathing exercise, several other things, and those would kind of let you catch your breath.
Hmm.
And that's what I needed. It wasn't too long after that you started another course, so I jumped in pretty quick. I'd prayed about it and felt that I was supposed to take the course, and it was very good.
Hmm.
I learned a lot. I learned how to deal with things, uh, you know, kind of things that I was thinking. So these are normal thoughts
Right.
that everybody goes through. Do I want to stay here? Because realistically, no, I'd rather be with her, but I still have a mission here. I don't know what it is, but
Right.
I still have a mission here. So that's why I'm hanging around. I think it was somewhere between week 4 and 5. I saw something about Lauren Green had a podcast talking about John Burke, and he had a book out called Imagine Heaven. And that really piqued my interest. And he's interviewed probably several thousand people by now, or read their stories on near-death experiences where they are clinically dead. They go out and have a vision, or they visit heaven, whatever you want to call it. And so he was telling some stories about that. And he used to be an engineer before he did this. He didn't really believe in God. His father died, and he had a book on his nightstand by Moody, who was kind of the first one to write about near-death experiences. He read it, the whole book that night, and he just said, I've got to research this some more.
So you were coming to an understanding,
It's coming to an
or
understanding. I got peace in my soul. I know where she's at. I don't know what happened, but I guess he opened my eyes or put it in my mind. It was just everything opened up. And it's like I was looking into heaven. I was seeing the story he was talking about. I was seeing the experience he had. And it was so real. It still gives me goosebumps talking about it.
it was very clear when you came back, I think it was between weeks 4 and 5, you came back and you seemed like a different person. And I think everybody in the group was like, Mike, what happened?
Yeah. So at that point, that changed my world. So I started reading books. I read Imagine Heaven. I'd see a book on Amazon or whatever, and stuff would pop up, and I go, I need to order that book. So I've still got a stack of books here that are yet to be read. And I read Rebel for God by Eddie DeGarmo, and he talks about the early days of Christian music and how hard it was. Nobody wanted to play him because the Christian music wouldn't play him because they sound too much like rock and roll. Then the rock and roll stations wouldn't play him because no, you sound too much like Christian music. So he wrote that book, but it ended up that I got that book because one of the things that really helped me was I had his music on my phone from I think '88 is when the album came out, and it was Feels Good to Be Forgiven. That was his first solo album. And he did that album. I remember it was about the time his dad died. So he kind of wrote that album about, forgiveness and healing and stuff. I listened to that song hundreds and hundreds of times, just over and over and over. And it just brought me so much comfort. Probably the two best songs out of it was Heaven's 911 and Picking Up the Pieces. 90 Minutes in Heaven by Don Piper. It was his near-death experience. And then there's another book, Imagine the God of Heaven by John Burke, and he kind of expounded on the attributes of God more than just imagine heaven. Then I read Wild at Heart, Discovering the Secrets of a Man's Soul by John Eldridge. I'd read it before, but that one just kind of talks to your heart and tells you, as a man, here's what you need, here's what you do.
Because it was the books and the music that really sort of got you through. Why do you think that was?
I was learning the character of God in a very deep and real way to me.
So it was music that comforted you. It was reading.
Yeah.
So, but tell me more about sort of the awareness that you've had, right? Because it was very clear. And this is something that I talk to people all of the time, like not because none of us really know, right, where our loved ones are, if they're okay, are they in heaven, are they somewhere else? It's something that a lot of people really struggle with. And I think we're all confronted with the faith that maybe we grew up with, or maybe not having any faith. And then things shift, right? And so things really shifted for you. And what was very palpable in the course was the level of peace that you had, the peace that came over you. And I think that's something that a lot of people also want to have, is that peace about, the transition or what has happened or where they are. So what do you attribute that to?
Well, probably about 2 or 3 days after she passed, that I was sitting in the bathtub, just sitting there thinking about life and all the stuff. And then I just felt the presence of God. My first thought was, I need to grab a towel and cover up. Then my next thought was, why bother? He already knows everything. So I thought something that said, to what do I owe this? What do I owe this pleasure? I didn't sense anything. I didn't hear him speak to me or anything. And then I felt another spirit, and the spirit was Christina's.
And had anything like that ever happened to you before, or was this a first?
That was the first. So at that point, I knew she was okay, but that still doesn't take away the loneliness, the grief, and I should have done this. I could have done this better. And, all of those are true, but you can't go back. So you just kind of have to live with what you've done, to make peace with it. One thing you've said is, if you ask the person that you lost, what would they say about this? And you'd say, they're nothing. They don't mean anything. So you kind of have to do that to get over some of the stuff that, everybody could have done a better job.
Yeah. And from that moment forward, then you sort of looked at everything differently. You said, you felt like you knew where she was and that she was okay. And then it was really up to you, and the one thing that sometimes we forget about, right, is that we're so absorbed in our grief, we make our lives, our current lives, so much about the loss and about the grief, when the reality is, what you really have to worry about is, how do you keep on living? How do you keep moving forward? And so how did you sort of reconcile that?
First thing I do when I get up in the morning is I try and read a chapter or several chapters in the Bible. Usually staying in the New Testament, because there's a version that I like, New Testament in modern English.
Okay.
And the guy wrote it. He was translating it himself, and he transitioned before he finished. So all he got done was the New Testament.
Okay.
And just the way he writes it and stuff, it really spoke to me.
So you started every day with that.
Yeah. So I read that every morning. It's on my phone. And so I just get up and I try and read that before I get up. Uh, then I usually drive to work, and sometimes I listen to music on the way to work. Other days it's just I don't want to hear anything. And then still many other days is I don't have the radio on, and I feel like it's time to talk to God. So it's about a 40-minute drive to work. So
Okay.
a lot of times I'm still talking when I get there.
Mm,
I just get a lot of comfort. And the books I'm reading is I will see something and something just tells me order it, buy it. So I buy it.
mhm. Yeah, you've mentioned multiple times that you felt somewhat guided
Yes.
to certain things, and I think that that's, yeah, so for people, so people listening, right, that's like, if you get that sense, one of the things, one of the mantras that we talk about, right, is the answers to your life are within you, right, and it's
Yeah.
learning how to trust that intuition and that sense of, if it feels right for you, move toward it,
Yeah.
especially when you're grieving, when you're emotionally charged, yeah, as long as it's good for you,
Yeah.
obviously.
Well, yeah. Number nine, the answers to my life are within me.
Mhm.
And for me, that is you've got to learn to calm down, calm your spirit so you can listen to what's in you. And for me, that's I'm listening for that small, still voice, which is God. So you've got to be quiet to really hear him. I mean, if it's a busy day in life and all that, he's hard to hear. So
Mhm.
you have to calm down and focus and let go, and then you can hear him.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice. And I think I know it's something I personally, could benefit from doing more of, is getting to that stillness and just listening, yeah, and seeing what you hear.
Yeah,
Because we do a lot of talking and we need to do more listening than we do talking, right?
yeah.
So, so given everything that you've experienced and read and listened to and learned from, if you were speaking to someone else here who may be brand new to grief, who has maybe lost a spouse or a parent or a child and is really looking to find their way, what advice would you give to them?
You've got to try and make peace with yourself. The relationship that you had, be it good or bad, you can't go back and fix it. So you have to accept what it is and make peace with yourself that, you did the best you could. That's kind of what you got to tell yourself. So you've got to make peace with yourself on that. And then at that point, once you've done that, then I believe that's when you can start your journey of trying to heal. And you really need somebody you can share with. And I found, talked to many friends, and they ask how you are. Well, they were expecting well, I'm okay. But sometimes, I had a few friends that, I kind of tell them what's going on and said, okay, well, I'll check back in with you later. Yeah.
So you said the truth.
I said the truth. Nobody's, only a few people were ready for that.
Mm,
You just got to find that right person that knows that they're not supposed to answer anything. They're just supposed to be there to listen
mhm,
and hold your hand and maybe pat you on the back, let you cry your ugly tears,
mm.
and get through that. So I mean, that's some of the best support you can get at that point in your life. And I find some other people. I had one friend, talk to him, and he lost his wife, so he knew
Mhm.
that. So we talked some. But then there was a older gentleman at church, John, that we'd become friends before that, but then after that, we started talking a lot more. And he used to be a pastor, and he helped me a lot. Christina was in the hospital. I had a pastor friend in the town I grew up in, Enid, that I was talking to him, or we were texting quite a bit. And I was telling him what's going on. So he gave me a lot of support. You need to find a group of people that you can be with that have been through the journey,
Mhm.
because they're the ones that understand what you're going through. They have a clue. Everybody else doesn't really realize how hard it actually is. It destroys your world.
Yeah, and it's such an important point that you make because I think we've all been a little bit, flabbergasted or maybe bamboozled by thinking that the people that are in closest proximity to us, right, or the people that we know the most are really going to be the ones to understand. And for a lot of us, the reality is that isn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
Although they mean well, they're not really equipped to help you in the way that you need to. And yeah, I think the advice that you give is really good, that getting with other people who have been through a loss similar to yours is very good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and where you can share openly for sure. And
And
that's what we try to do here in the
yeah,
grief inspired community for sure.
and or then online, which you've got a great course going on and a great Facebook group and stuff that really helps, because you can pour your heart out, and and you get support. Or
Yeah, and it's such good advice though, like to keep looking, right? And not everything has to work for everybody, but I think the important thing is to keep looking and keep searching, because eventually you will find comfort, in one way or another, whether it be with people, whether it be with God, whether it be, in books, in the Bible, wherever that is. For you in particular, keep searching, I think is really good advice. Is there anything else that you would say in particular to, the men that are watching this? Because one of the reasons, and we were talking earlier, one of the reasons why I love that you're doing this is because it can be difficult culturally for men to ask for support. And I think that one of the things that I'm very committed to is helping more men get the support that they need. And sometimes that's hard to do. So, is there any advice you would give there, or any words of wisdom to give to them?
growing up as boys and men, you hear all the time that men don't cry. You just don't cry. I can tell you that's not a right lie. That my phrase is real men do cry, and the tears are healing. You let them out. I mean, some of the stuff I was reading was very hard. Some of the music was very hard. And I mean, they just opened the floodgates and bring it on. Just let them come. After that, then they will become shorter and shorter at the times, and that's what helps. But most of the guys that I work with, they know I'm going through stuff, and I will read at lunch. I will watch some YouTube videos at lunch, or listen to some music. And sometimes when I get done, I'm crying during lunch or whatever, and I know my eyes are swollen, but hey, it is what it is.
I love hearing this because I do think it's necessary, right?
Yes.
One of the things we say around here is, get your grief out, right? Your grief needs to come out,
Yeah.
one way or another.
So tears are, I mean, they may seem uncontrollable, but I don't think they really are. Well, they are in a way, because I mean, I can still hear a song or smell or pick up something that was hers, and then just immediately you're just kind of overcome.
Mm.
So
And what do you do when that happens?
I will usually cry some, and then I just think of where she's at. She's
Mhm.
not hurting anymore.
Mhm.
She's in heaven with God, where everything is the best it could be. I mean, what the care I could give her was dismal compared to what she's what she's going through now, because she's not hurting anymore or anything. So I just kind of have to remind myself that we will be together again. It's just not my time yet. I've still got something to do yet.
Well, yeah, and I know how much you've done for, just participating in the group that you're in for that core group of people. You've done a lot there. You've done a lot in the Facebook group and in the school community already that's just getting underway. And so, yeah, I think, and this interview, right, doing this and sharing your story. I mean, I think these are all things that are, yeah, you're still here, and there is more to do. And I think some of us, we don't realize the impact that we can have on one person at a time. And so I want to thank you for sharing your story, and speaking bravely and talking about Christina and talking about your journey. Is there anything else that you want to share before we go?
Uh, I'm just kind of hanging around because it feels to me that that's supposed to be part of my journey right now,
Yeah.
is staying around and helping people, tell them what I did and say, think about this or think about that. And, you know, I've already heard from several people in the group that, Jane's one of them that, she writes all the time. He said that whatever I'm saying is touching her, because she says you're just such an inspiration, and,
You are.
in what you do and stuff. So, okay, I'll take it. If that's something that I can pass on what has been given to me.
So if you want to communicate with Mike, you can put comments here on the YouTube video. He hangs out in the Grief Inspired Facebook group at times. He's also on the new school platform, which is SKOOL, in the Grief Inspired community there. So you're welcome to join us there as well. And you'll be able to ask questions of Mike, and I can guarantee he'll probably get back to you. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. And I'm excited to see you keep on living.
All right. Thank you.